My name is Richard Griffin. I'm Director of Economic Development for the City of Frederick. And on behalf of Mayor Randy Mcclement, County Executive Jan Gardner, and our partners, we'd like to thank you for coming to this press conference, which is intended to thank individuals and groups responsible for assisting the project to this point, including recent funding announced by the state legislature, and to provide information on key next steps. A few housekeeping items. There are bathrooms in this building still, and they're out the door and to the left and down the hallway if you need them. Additionally, if for some reason we had to get out of the room, the entrance that you came in at the front is the main entrance, but there also are exits down the hallway and to your right. I'd like to recognize some of the elected officials who are in attendance today, including to my right, Mayor Randy Mcclement and County Executive Jan Gardner. Thank you both for being here. Additionally, we have Senator Ron Young, Delegate Carroll Crim, and Delegate Karen Lewis Young here in the front row. Thank you both for being here. I'd also like to recognize Alderwoman Kelly Russell. Where's Kelly? In the back there. Thank you for being here, Kelly. Brunswick Councilman Walt Stoll is here as well. Thanks, Walt, for coming up from Brunswick. I hope I didn't miss any. I think I got our elected officials who were in the room. We have a number of speakers this morning, but I'm going to go off script for just 1 second and just say that today is a special day for this project. It's also a special day for me because 20 years ago today, I got married in Maryland and made a decision to make Frederick my home. And it was in part because I believed in working on cool projects in a cool historic town with great people like you. So I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for the opportunity to be here today and the opportunity to work on this project. Our first speaker this morning is Earl H Robbins Jr. He's our project chairman. He's a retired businessman who was appointed by Mayor Randy Mcclement as chairman of the Downtown Hotel and Conference Center Advisory Committee. He was employed for over 30 years by Alcoa, and at the time he retired, he was their government relations director. I may have given him a promotion. I don't know if I used your correct title or not there. Mr. Robbins has given hundreds of volunteer hours to this project, and it is my pleasure to invite him to come up and offer a few words.
Good morning. This is a very exciting day. Since I was out of town during the legislative session, I can't take credit for the work that went on, but I do want to thank a number of people, starting with our state legislators, Senator Ron Young, Delegate Karen Young, Delegate Carroll Crim. I want to thank our Mayor, Randy Mcclement, our County Executive, Jan Gardner. I want to thank Greenwheel Consultants Group, our lobbyists, the Plamondon Hospitality Partners, but also I want to make sure to thank the major employers and the business community. I was in Annapolis Monday to thank all the players down in Annapolis. And one of the things I did hear was about the support of the business community. And so it was great to let them know how much this project meant to the community. I just want to say, before I went out of town, I told Richard, if we don't get the money from the state this year, I was resigning as chairman, because it's obviously a message that we need somebody else to lead the team. So I'm thankful to the team that they did a great job to bring the money home from the state. So it's just one step, but I'm glad to be a part of us moving on to the next steps and the great things that we have coming forward. So thank you for being out here, for coming out this morning to be a part of this celebration.
Our next speaker is Mayor Randy Mcclement. He's my boss, and he's a strong advocate for the Downtown Hotel and Conference Center project, making it his administration's top priority. Mayor Mcclement is now in his second term as Frederick's Burgermeister, a former small business owner who knows the value of downtown foot traffic on sidewalks from his years at the Bagel and Deli, which he owned with his wife Mary Jane for more than 10 years on South Market Street. Under his leadership, Frederick has enjoyed back-to-back bond rating upgrades. Please welcome Mayor Mcclement.
Thanks, Richard. Happy anniversary. Thank you all very much for joining us here today for this exciting event. Each of you played a role in getting us to this point. Even though some of the people in this room have been engaged in this project for a decade or so, and countless hours has already gone into planning, I see today's event as the starting point. Now, we can take this concept and begin to turn it into a building right here on this site. We would not be at this starting point without the support of many of you here today, but I do have a couple people I would like to recognize. First on the list, the Downtown Frederick Hotel and Conference Advisory Committee, led by Earl Robbins. From site selection to request for proposal to creating the memorandum of understanding between the city and Plamondon, to testifying at every hearing and meeting we asked them to, this team has worked very hard to get us to this milestone. I would like to recognize the members of the team. As I said, Earl Robbins, Committee Chair, Elizabeth Cromwell, President and CEO of the Frederick County Chamber of Commerce, John Fiesler, Executive Director of the Tourism Council of Frederick County, Karen Norman, Executive Director, Downtown Frederick Partnership, Bob McCutcheon, representing East Frederick Rising, Roger Wilson, Frederick County Government Affairs and Public Policy Director, Helen Profiter, Director of Frederick County Office of Economic Development, Frederick City's Director of Budget and Purchasing, Katie Barkdahl, my Executive Assistant, Nikki Bamonte, and all of the city's Department of Economic Development staff, Bobby Baumler, Michelle Kirshner, and Donna Goff. And, of course, a very special thank you to my Director of Economic Development, Richard Griffin, who has been the driving force behind this project. We are here today in no small part because of his many sleepless nights and long hours he has spent working on this project. Can we have a big round of applause for this team? I also want to thank the members of our business community who wrote letters of support, and especially those who took the time out of their busy workday to drive back and forth to Annapolis many, many times to testify in support of this project. They are Steve Ellis with Regent Education, Dave Bufter with Leidos Biomedical Research, Brian Gaudet of BNBI, Don Schilling, Frederick Memorial Healthcare Systems, and Linda Morgan of Support Unlimited, Inc. Thank you all for your help and for your support. To the Plamondons, who responded to the city's request for proposal with an impressive team and a striking vision of how an upscale hotel and conference center would blend with our historic district. Since being awarded the bid, they have worked alongside the advisory committee to execute the MOU with the city and have tirelessly committed to moving this project forward. Thank you for being an outstanding partner, and thank you for investing in our community. I want to thank the City Board of Aldermen, Kelly Russell, Michael O'Connor, Donna Kazemchek, Josh Bokey, and Phil Dacey. You have been unanimous and consistent in your support for this project. Thank you for seeing this as the nonpartisan project it is, and for recognizing the need and the incredible economic opportunity this project presents for our community. Similarly, County Executive Jan Gardner, whose unfailing support for this project has allowed us to stand as a team, city and county, working together across party lines. Because myself, the Board of Aldermen, the County Executive, all recognize that this project is not about political parties. It's about birthday parties. It's about weddings. It's about technology conferences. It's about business meetings. It's about board retreats and seminars and all of the many great events that will take place right here when this historic space is restored and transformed into a remarkable hub for our community. To our Frederick City delegation, Delegate Carroll Crim, former Alderman for the city. You sponsored the House bill for this project and have been involved since the beginning. You helped us immeasurably in the entire process. You've been a conduit in our partnership with the Maryland Stadium Authority, and your persistence and intensity for this project have gotten us to this starting line today. We are extremely grateful for your dogged determination and your unyielding fight for this project. Delegate Karen Lewis Young. As, like Delegate Crim, you supported this project as Alderman and have been instrumental in this process. Thank you for speaking out to correct misinformation and continually educating the public to the benefits of this project. Senator Ron Young, your vision so many years ago of what Carroll Creek could be has helped projects like this to come to our community. The hotel and meeting space will be a crown jewel and a much-needed element to the infrastructure of our city. Thank you for the heavy lifting you did on the Senate side for the Maryland Stadium Authority bill and for fighting for the state partnership funding on this project. Can we give them a round of applause? I want to thank the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development for awarding grants totaling $850,000 for this project. These strategic demolition and smart growth impact funds are dedicated to such pre-development activities as demolition, land assembly, and infrastructure improvements that are critical to attracting other public and private investment. This leads me to the path moving forward. We've been tasked with formalizing a multi-party agreement between the city, county, state, Plamondon Hospitality Partners, and the Maryland Stadium Authority. While corralling this many parties together is never simple, I am personally pleased with this condition for the release of the $1 million from the state. There have been many questions about funding and the government's responsibility for the success of this project. Many of these questions will be answered as we complete this document. Previously, we planned to negotiate with each party separately in multiple agreements, but this multi-party MOU will be the opportunity for all of these groups to come to the table and formalize the responsibilities in one document. I can continue to tell you that city taxpayers will not be financially responsible for this project if it fails, but it's this agreement that will put those responsibilities in black and white. Carroll Creek Linear Park is a perfect example of government investment leading to private investment. Carroll Creek helped to spur many significant projects on the city's east side. You see some examples of this with the Monocacy Valley Canning Company Building, with the Tourism Council's Visitor Center, and the redevelopment of the Union Mills property, and the project we've come here to talk to you about today, the Downtown Hotel and Conference Center. It is our belief that these projects not only create jobs and promote the city, but will also spur additional development and redevelopment within our community. Again, thank you for being here today. We look forward to working together as partners as we step across this starting line to make this project successful. Thank you all very much for coming out today.
I'm very pleased to introduce Frederick County's first county executive, Jan Gardner. County Executive Gardner served as the county commissioner for 12 years, including as president of the Board of County Commissioners from 2006 to 2010. And she, like Mayor Mcclement, has made the Downtown Hotel and Conference Center an administration priority, and she often is quoted as saying, "What's good for the city of Frederick is good for Frederick County." Recently, under Jan's leadership, Frederick County achieved its first AAA bond rating. Her strong advocacy for this project clearly helped garner financial support from the legislative leadership. Please join me in welcoming County Executive Jan Gardner.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you, Mayor Mcclement. Are you excited? I mean, really, isn't this exciting? It's really a great day and a great time to be here in the city of Frederick. During the past few months, when I've been asked about the hotel and conference center, I find myself really telling a story about the city of Frederick. And it's an exciting story, and it's a story of people working together, and it's a story of success. It's a great story. We have a wonderful community here and a lot to be proud of. Frederick City is a booming, vibrant place filled with people, shoppers, unique stores downtown, and great restaurants, and fabulous events too. And it's also our job center. You know, over half the jobs in Frederick County are located within the city limits of the city of Frederick. It's really important to our whole county. And Frederick City, in my opinion, and certainly others agree with this, is the envy of mid-sized cities around the country. It's really a vibrant community. And we didn't get here by accident. It happened because there was a vision and there were choices made over many years to bring us here and to make this vision a reality. The county, the city, and the state have invested money wisely and strategically to make this happen. Public investments have been made in several key projects over the years, such as the Carroll Creek Flood Control Project, the development of the Carroll Creek Linear Park, the extension of East Street and the new interchange at I-70, which really provides another gateway to the city of Frederick, the construction of the Seaber Arts Public Library, which fronted on Carroll Creek and was really the first anchor to the creek, and the use of hotel tax revenue to renovate a vacant building to create a new Frederick Visitor Center. All of these things add to the vibrancy and success of downtown. So the next chapter in this story is about the Downtown Hotel and Conference Center. This project was identified as a major missing piece of infrastructure by our Chamber of Commerce, our major employers group, and many, many others, and many community leaders. This project is about economic development. It's about being open for business. This will really help support all of the businesses that function here in the downtown city of Frederick. It will also drive the redevelopment of the east side of the city of Frederick. So it's the next transformational project to support that vision and to keep us moving forward. This project has been supported by literally at least 100 businesses have submitted letters of support. Countless citizens have weighed in. And, you know, we've seen literally hundreds of these postcards in Annapolis. There's a huge stack below this podium here. So people have participated in what to some of us seems like a very long process. I really cannot thank the members of the District 3 delegation enough for their hard work, their heavy lift, and their advocacy to make this project happen. I mean, Senator Ron Young's support comes as no surprise, because really what we're doing is we're implementing the vision that he started when he was the mayor of the city of Frederick, and that we continue to advance. Delegate Carroll Krim was a major proponent working in the House Appropriations Committee and introducing the Stadium Authority bill. And along with Delegate Karen Lewis Young, they've been instrumental in lobbying for this project with the Capital Budget Committee. And your work, I mean, you guys have been awesome. You've really helped to make this project move forward successfully. I also need to thank the leadership of both the House and the Senate who've recognized and supported this project. And of course, working with Mayor Randy Mcclement and all the other partners that he mentioned. It's really been a team effort. And it is a milestone that we are at, and it's a positive milestone. And I think we should celebrate it. But we should also recognize that there's a lot of work in front of us. It's a step in the process. So while there's jubilation and cheers in Frederick County when funding was announced that there was planning dollars in the capital budget and there was money bookmarked for construction in the next 2 fiscal years, there is a lot of work ahead. The Conference Center is a key economic development project that will be good for the city of Frederick and good for Frederick County. And as my son would say, it's all good. So thank you to everyone who worked so diligently to get where we are today, particularly the members of our delegation who are here for bringing us to this point. We are all in it together, and together we will move forward and make sure Frederick has a bright and prosperous future. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Peter Plamondon Jr., co-president of Plamondon Companies, headquartered right here in Frederick, Maryland. Pete's brother Jim Plamondon is the other co-president of the company, which owns and manages select service Marriott hotels in Frederick and Hagerstown, as well as the trademark and franchise system for Roy Rogers restaurants. Plamondon Hospitality Partners, a subsidiary of Plamondon Companies, was chosen through a competitive RFP process and rigorous criteria-driven selection process to be the select private sector partner to build, own, and manage the new downtown Frederick Hotel and Conference Center. Recently, Plamondon Hospitality Partners inked a memorandum of understanding with the city to consummate the relationship, and in doing so, agreed to privately fund the construction of the hotel and its retail amenities, estimated at nearly $50 million. It's also agreed to own and operate both the hotel and conference center facilities with no subsidies from local or state government, effectively eliminating any ongoing public sector financial risk. Please join me in welcoming Pete Plamondon.
What a long, strange trip it's been. I guess I didn't coin those words. Somebody else beat me to it. This is a tremendous day for the city, the county, and indeed the state of Maryland. I'll never forget, like it was yesterday, picking up the Frederick News Post. I'm not sure what year it was, but it was announcing the funding of the Interstate 70 interchange project work with federal dollars and really building the East Street extension as a means to get into our beautiful city. And I called Richard and I said, this is now the time we can start talking about a downtown hotel. And it'd be my goal to celebrate, have my 50th birthday party in the hotel. Okay, well, I'm 56 today. So if I could celebrate my 60th birthday party in this hotel, I thought it'd be a wonderful, wonderful thing for me. We have a lot to be thankful for. The word partnership has been used extensively this morning, and I will continue to use the word partnership. These kinds of projects don't get built without strong partners. And although I may have made a phone call to Richard Griffin, that was way before an MOU would be signed, way before a request for proposal for a hotel to be even dreamed up, little did I know that how many partners there would be to make this a reality. Plamondon Companies have been in business 36 years. My dad started here in 1980, and we've had a lot of success. My brother and I are the owners of the company today, second generation. We have over 1,000 associates, over 5 states, soon to be 7 states, and we appreciate what they do for us every day by serving the guests that we serve. Back to partnership. The Chamber of Commerce years ago identified the need for a downtown hotel, specifically the Major Employers Group, of which I was sitting at the inaugural meeting for the Major Employers Group. And then CEO Rick Adams passed around an agenda of what this new group could decide together to work on as a team to focus on for the betterment of the county. And there was one item on the agenda, Downtown Hotel and Conference Center. And I'm sitting at the board table at the chamber with the likes of folks from State Farm, Bechtel, Fort Detrick, Leidos, then SAIC, MedImmune, and others. And I'm thinking, is somebody playing a joke on me, or is this real? Because here's my feasibility study sitting around the table with me. These are the folks that are asking for this facility. Not Plamondon, but the users and the citizens, corporate citizens and otherwise of Frederick County. So I knew then that this idea had legs. What I didn't know then was how many legs would be involved. So we can start with the Chamber of Commerce because that's where the idea germinated from. We can talk about the hotel advisory team that was formed as a result of that, led by Earl. We can talk about tourism, which is natural, and John Fiesler and what his input has meant to this project and the importance of the leisure traveler for this downtown hotel. And we certainly have to talk about the mayor of Frederick, Randy Mcclement, our county executive, Jan Gardner, our delegation members that worked tirelessly to move forward this agenda, led by Senator Ron Young in the Senate and delegates Carroll Krim and Karen Lewis Young in the House of Delegation. And I'll also say, not least but not last, is Richard Griffin, who, he's the man. We would not be here without Richard's tireless effort. And when things looked the bleakest, Richard would say, "Don't worry, Pete. Don't give up. Don't get disappointed." He was always there. And I'm a pretty positive guy. I don't get down in the dumps very easily. But Richard was always there to keep the focus. I also want to thank the folks at Plamondon Hospitality Partners, my brother Jim, who supported this idea and didn't think I was half-cocked when I came in and said, "This is, I think, something we need to do." Our dad, who's not here this morning, but hopefully you'll see him in the future at future events, and the consultants that have worked with us at Plamondon. There are a lot of folks outside of our company that when I mentioned this idea to our executive team, I said, "You folks are very busy running the day-to-day business, what we got going on now. Running or building and developing a full-service hotel and conference center is heavy lifting. We're going to bring in subject matter experts from outside," and we've done just that. Dave Edgerly is one of those gentlemen who's not here today, but Dave has been instrumental in helping us out. Dave is a former economic development administrator for Montgomery County and indeed the state of Maryland, knows a little bit about public-private partnerships. Our good friends at Marriott International, who we will be collaborating with. We will be a franchise. Let me set that straight. So for any misinformation, they're not investing in this hotel. It's our investment. But they will be the brand that we will be proud to fly. They've been instrumental in getting us here as well. We have a process ahead of us. There's a lot of work still to go, as we all know, not the least of which we're building an historic town, by the way. And we understand that. When we chose this site to submit, we understood very, very well what that meant. This is going to be a legacy project for the city of Frederick, indeed the county, and we have to fit into what that looks like today and what it's going to look like for the next 100 years. So we understand there's a process. We understand that this building will be part of that process too, over a 100-year-old building. This is a very exciting element of the project. It's separate and apart from the hotel and conference center, but we have about a $5+ million renovation of this space. I think it's going to be one of the most exciting retail spaces in all of downtown. But what this all means at the end of the day are jobs, 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 and lots of them. And I think that's, as a business owner, I can speak to the fact that it's very humbling to own a business. What's even more humbling is to know that you're responsible in large part for people's lives and their families. And that's a big responsibility as an entrepreneur that my brother and I enjoy every day. And the ability to compound that with this type of a project is exciting to no ends. And what that means for not the people that work for us today, but people that will work for us and the surrounding businesses in the future. And that's something we can all be proud of. And I am so proud to be here today. And thank you very much for your support. We got a lot of work ahead of us. We get it. We're ready. We're prepared because we've got great partners. And thank you very, very much.
Next up to the podium and fresh from the halls of Annapolis is Delegate Carroll Krim, who's serving in her first term as representative from District 3A as a member of the House of Delegates. You'd think that she'd been there for a long, long time, the way she operates down there. Delegate Krim has been a tireless supporter of the Downtown Frederick Hotel and Conference Center since her days as a Frederick City Alderwoman from 2009 to 2013. In her role with the state legislature, Carroll coordinated with the Maryland Stadium Authority and initiated the drafting of the bill to provide state funding for the public components of the project. And although that bill was not ultimately approved, it helped pave the way for the legislature to fund the project in full over the next 3 fiscal years. Please join me in welcoming Delegate Carroll Crabb.
Good morning, everybody. It's the first time I'm seeing the whole crowd that's here this morning, and it filled the room. It's great to be home. That's the first thing I want to say. We finished up Monday at midnight. And for me, there's no greater place in the springtime than the city of Frederick and Frederick County. It's beautiful as you go through the streets and see the flowering trees and the spring flowers. It's just great to be home. So we had a team in Frederick with the mayor, the county executive, all the business partners, Elizabeth Cromwell at the chamber, Downtown Frederick Partnership. And then we had a team in Annapolis. And the rest of my team members will be up here talking to you in a little while. And which gives me a great advantage because whatever I don't say, they'll pick up. But in Annapolis, nothing is easy. That's the first thing I want to say. Nothing is easy. So even though we had a great project, great support, you still have to advocate and be persistent and make sure that the leadership understands how important this project is to the business community, for economic development and growth in the city of Frederick. And like I said on the House floor when we were debating the conference committee report for the capital budget that included this line item for our $1 million this year, over half the jobs in the county are located in the city of Frederick. It's important for the county that the city thrives and the city grows. And it's important for jobs. Mr. Plamondon talked about jobs, jobs, jobs. Well, it's also important about the growth on the east side of Frederick. As I think Richard talked about, maybe the mayor, we've had a lot of speakers this morning, the library was instrumental in getting the development on this side of Carroll Creek. That was a government expense to get that building built. So now we have a partnership of all levels of government. It was very clear to me that we needed a partnership from all levels of government. And it was my job when I got to Annapolis was to make sure the leadership understood how important the state is in that partnership. So I'm on the Appropriations Committee, as everybody knows. And even though our team is here from Frederick, I have to make you understand how much importance the extension of our team is in Annapolis. That extension includes the leadership of my committee, Chairman Maggie McIntosh, Vice Chair Tawana Gaines, Chair of Capital Budget, Adrian Jones. These 3 members of my committee advocated and went to conference committee supporting this project. And, you know, I know Senator Young's going to come up here and talk about President Miller and all of what he did, but I can talk to you about on the House side. House Speaker Mike Bush and his staff was there every step of the way with us. When we had City of Frederick Day in Annapolis, the speaker came. He was very supportive of the project. But that's only one part of it. You still have to convince other people that this is an important expenditure for the state, how it's going to reap benefits. We talk about return on investment. Yes, there's going to be a lot of return on investment. We have studies that prove that. But you still have to advocate and be persistent. So I can't thank enough all of the help we had in Annapolis. And I know there was a lot of political intrigue around this, but it was mostly just making sure that everybody understood how important the project is for the continued growth and the continued success of our community. Thank you all for being here today. It's been my pleasure to work for you in Annapolis, and I thank you for that opportunity every day. Thank you.
Also, just back from the halls of Annapolis is Delegate Karen Lewis Young, who, like Delegate Crim, is serving in her first term as member of the House of Delegates and is a former alderwoman of the city for the same years, 2009 to 2013. Delegate Young was a co-sponsor on the project bill and unrelenting as she pursued the ultimate funding of the project and, as the mayor said, correcting misinformation at every step. Her background in finance and banking proved to be a unique and valuable resource during the process, for which we are very grateful. Please join me in welcoming Delegate Karen Lewis Young.
As my predecessor said, it is wonderful to be back in Frederick, particularly at such a celebratory function. Last year at this time, people said, well, what do you think your greatest accomplishment was in Annapolis this session? And I said, well, you know, it's hard to pick just one. There were a lot of good ones. This year, I can repeat that there were a lot of good ones, but the single greatest one is certainly this project. And it is not so much the heavy lifting, although that was a great experience. It was, I can't think of a single project that will have such a positive long-term impact on this community. I can't think of an economic development opportunity in the past several decades that will lift this community to a second level of a new renaissance in not only business development, but job growth. So it's great to be back celebrating this, and like my predecessors, there are a number of people I would like to thank, but from a somewhat different perspective. First of all, Mayor Mcclement and County Executive Gardner. They were there every time we asked them to be there, advocating for this project, and that was critical. What a statement that made, that we were backed up in a bipartisan fashion by both our mayor and our county executive. Next, the Board of Aldermen, who unanimously supported this project. What a message that made. Thank you, Kelly Russell, for your leadership. Next, John Feisler, Karen Norman, Elizabeth Cromwell, John Feisler, for giving us good data on the tourism industry and how this project would impact that. Kara for leading the support of the downtown businesses, and Elizabeth Cromwell for leading the chamber in recognizing how important and critical this project is for this community. A very, very special project. Thank you. To Richard Griffin. I'm motivated by data. I can present a business case if I have accurate and timely data. I had a reflection to 40 years ago during this process when I presented my first new product idea at Citibank. And as I waited nervously for my boss to say, this is an awful idea, or this is a great idea, he said one thing: this is buttoned up. Your business case is buttoned up. And that's exactly what Richard did, provided the data and information to make a buttoned up business case. And no matter how many times we added new questions or, we said, how does this jive with that? He had excellent information. All of you out there who wrote letters, what a community case that made. We counted the letters. We kept an Excel spreadsheet of the number of letters, how many came from businesses, how many came from individuals. We had in total over 100 letters, and the positives outweighed the negatives by a ratio of 9-1. And I'm not double counting because there were some people that wrote 2 letters, but you only got 1 voice. So at the end of the day, when we made our case to leadership, we had a solid business case and community backing. There's not much more you could ask for. As I'm rounding out my thank yous, I want to say one more thing before I do my final thank you. Regarding this concept of heavy left, sometimes there were days we would feel 1 step ahead, 1 step backwards. And I like to equate adventures to movie titles. And I was struggling between, should this movie be called Against All Odds or Mission Impossible? Tough call. But my final thank you goes to my colleagues. And I will dub them the Dream Team. Never in my 40 years have I worked with such an effective team. My colleagues give teamwork a new definition. Always knowledgeable, always persistent, incredible creative problem solving, energy and enthusiasm. We were never discouraged. Whenever we had a bad day or a bad omen, we said, time for new ideas. What a way to work. In concluding, I said to my state senator one day, here's a case where 2 + 1 = 5. And he said, nope, your math is wrong. I said, no, wait a minute. You see what I'm doing here? This is synergistic. He said, yeah, I get that. But in this case, 2 + 1 = 8. Now, I don't frequently say you're right, but this time he was right. Thank you all.
Our final speaker, but certainly not last, and batting cleanup for the team of District 3 delegation members is Senator Ron Young, who served as a member of the Maryland Senate since 2011. Senator Young's strong support of the project and his willingness to push for full project funding clearly was instrumental in obtaining Senate leadership support and a positive outcome. Ron has a very good understanding of what it takes to bring a project like this to fruition from his years as a Frederick City Alderman from 1970 to 74, and then as mayor from 1974 to 1990. It was during his tenure that he obtained nearly $60 million in city, county, and state funding for the Carroll Creek Flood Control Project that we now call Carroll Creek Park. That plan was underpinned with economic development and development of a downtown hotel and conference center as part of the plan, and it's been one of his top priorities ever since, and I'm sure you'll hear from him about that. But I want to point out that in addition to this, Ron was recognized at the state level for other things. He was appointed as Deputy Secretary of Planning, as Deputy Secretary of Natural Resources throughout the 90s and into the early 2000s. Without further ado, I ask you in joining me in welcoming the guy with the best tie in the audience, Senator Ron Young, to offer his comments.
Pete, I'm sorry you missed your 50th birthday, but if it makes you feel a little better, when we designed this whole project, which was a trifold project, flood control, linear park, and economic development, we planned 3 hotel sites on the creek. And in the late 80s, we had 2 hotels awarded. One up where Brewer's Alley is. They were going to take the back down and do 75 rooms, and one where the condos are. And I was looking at having my 50th birthday party there. And I'm not going to get into what my age is, but my mother always told me to respect my elders, and I'm having trouble finding any today. So I'm not going to go through all the thank yous, though I would certainly like to, but they've been very well said. And this couldn't have been done without everybody. It was really, really important to have this kind of support. And I can tell you, going back, you know, we had a little group fighting us, and I told my delegate one night that I didn't do one project years ago that there wasn't a small group fighting. Whether it was the parking garage, the underground wiring, the Weinberg Center, the baseball stadium, the airport expansion, I could go on and on. There was always a little group fighting it. And you had to just recognize that and push ahead. And, you know, in 1989, I had a bunch of people come to my office and say, if you go ahead with Carroll Creek and the baseball stadium and the golf course and several other things, you're going to lose the election. And I said, you know what? All the ego I got out of being called mayor was long gone. We're here to do something. And call me arrogant or whatever. If I have to fight those groups, I'm going to do it. And if it costs me an election, I don't care. I laughed. We've gotten some things already. This is going to cost you the next election. Well, I think there's so much support for that if we lose, it won't be for that reason. But if it is, I don't care. I've had a great career, and I think the three of us working as a team, as they both said, were really able to make a difference and bring to, not to the climax, because the hotel's going to be the climax, but to bring together all the work that everybody else did and get that final funding to make it happen. And that is all it takes to make it worthwhile. We did have an unusual battle on both sides. You know, we looked at different ways to get the funding, and there were 3 different courses to take. And because of what's called local courtesy, we were pretty sure the Maryland Stadium Authority bill wasn't going to pass, even though everybody thought it was great on both committees. They had 4-2 against them, and we were 1-1. So we said, how are we going to do it? And there was nothing backhanded about it. We said, the budget. And we had to really pressure to get it in. The Senate had to budget first this time of year. And very frankly, at first, Mike Miller wasn't as enthused as Mike Bush was. But it was their budget. And I had some words with them and the staff and said, you know, I've done a lot down here for other places. It's time we get something back home. And finally he said, okay, we'll give you the hotel money. So it got put in their budget, and of course it went to the House. They had to fight to keep it. Excuse me, but we had the same thing on our side. We had to get Senator Miller and Senator DeGrange and Senator Casemeyer on the Capital Committee all together on it, get it in the budget. They had to keep it in the budget, and we got it through. There was nothing backhanded about it. We had to take the approach that would get us there. And I do want to say one thing. This money was put in the capital budget. There are no ties to how it's used other than it's used for the conference center. So if the city and county want to go through the Maryland Stadium Authority, they can. If they want to go through another state group that'll work with them, they can. Or if you want to do it otherwise, you can. There's no ties. It was capital money. So that should go forward that way. We did, I said, a lot of the misconceptions, and both the delegates and I have all tried to explain, as did the mayor and the county exec, and it was really important, Elizabeth, to have that whole team down there because it backed up. I mean, we had to do some tough fighting to get it through, but if we hadn't had the support to show that the whole community was behind it, it still might not have happened. So that was real important. This isn't a gift. It's not a TIF, but it's sort of like a TIF. We got the money from the state. The taxes generated in this building, the hotel, and the conference center will pay to the state back every cent they've given us. It's just a good investment. And there are people who said, oh yeah, but if you hadn't given the money, you'd have gotten the taxes anyhow. Well, that's not true. If we hadn't gotten the money, it would have never been built. So not only are we going to get this, the jobs, additional taxes, local taxes, what it's going to spur all around us, and what it'll do for the community and new jobs and new taxes is just unbelievable. So just don't believe those negative things that you hear out there. It's a good project. And, you know, the opponents at the last minute brought up, oh, there's going to be soil problems. We built Carroll Creek down through here. Weren't soil problems getting that done. And anything that comes up like that, design, soil, whatever, that's all part of any project. Whatever you find, you deal with, you go ahead. So I'm really looking forward. I have some old team members that were back there when we started all this stuff in the late 70s and 80s that I'm looking forward to sitting on a patio outside the hotel on the creek, having a drink with all of them and with all of you that did it today. Ought to be a pretty big and pretty happy crowd, and I can't wait for that to happen. And it's something, I think it's one of the projects that's going to start the second renaissance of modern Frederick in terms of where we're going. So it's great, and again, they did the thanks to everybody. Ditto, me too. Thank all of you. I am really happy, really looking forward to seeing this, and I think it's going to be a great thing. And I told somebody, I think in 10 or 15 years, we're going to see 2 more hotels downtown. And that was part of the original plan. I have to tell you one last thing, and I don't know why I'm getting so hoarse. Thanks. I get a kick, and people give me credit for vision on some of these projects. I want to tell you a story about how much vision I have. Oh, by the way, there was a letter in the paper about me trying to get a study for bringing light rail to Frederick. Carroll have been working on 270. If you don't look out at those projects 20 and 30 years ahead, I doubt if I'm going to live to ever see light rail come to Frederick. But if we don't think about that far ahead and plan it and start reserving right-of-ways, it's never going to happen. So some of these things may seem like pipe dreams at the time, but if you don't look out and plan, they just don't happen. But I want to tell a quick story about my vision and how smart I am. In 1957, a friend of mine who was from England and moved here said, come on, I want to take you down on Patrick Street. There's a new place there. They got this stuff called pizza. So we went down to get a piece of pizza. And it was Ernie's pizza shop that had opened. And I went in and had a piece of this stuff that he was calling pizza. And we left and we're walking up the street. And he said, well, what'd you think of it? I said, you know, it was okay. But no business will ever make it just selling that stuff. So 2,537 pizza shops later in Frederick. I said, man, have I got vision. Thank you all, and thank you very much for all you've done.
So I would like to thank each of our speakers. I think you can see the passion and the tireless support that each has and continues to provide. Recently, during a workshop in Annapolis, a legislator asked our consultant, Anirban Basu, with Sage Policy Group, in your opinion, what would be the worst outcome that could happen with this project? Anirban's response was, not what you think. He said that the worst thing that could happen is that this project wouldn't happen. Anirban believes, and so do we, that when this project is complete, it's going to unlock other investment, job creation, and prosperity for the community. At the end of the day, we strongly believe the rising tide lifts all boats. This is not an us and them proposition. I would like to take a moment and just say that I really appreciate the work that Joe Brillia and David Edgerly did on the Plamondon team. They did an amazing job, and we appreciate that, Pete. Thank you so much. You've already heard about all the businesses and the folks who wrote postcards, and if you get a chance, come up and take a look at the hundreds and hundreds of postcards that people wrote in support of this project that are here underneath the podium. I'd like to thank Myron Randall and Will Randall and the Randall family for their kind use of this facility today. And of course, this property is under contract by the Plamondon Hospitality Group for this project. I'd like to thank my staff, Bobby, Michelle, and Donna, who handle many of the logistics of this press conference, along with Nikki Belmonte in the mayor's office. And then we had a number of consulting companies that helped us through this project: Jones Lang LaSalle, Municap, Walker Parking Consultants, Greenwell Consulting, and Sage Policy Group, all of whom were very instrumental at different points in providing different data sets. So I want to finish by saying that people have been very kind to me about the work that I've done on the project. I can only tell you that the work that's been done by my teammates is none any less than the work that I've done individually. And I'd like to invite them to come up and let's get a picture. Elizabeth, Kara, John, Helen, come on up here to the front for a moment, because these people have worked just as tirelessly and just as much behind the scenes. Did I leave anybody out? Who else is back there? Who did I miss? John Fiesler, is he here? He didn't get to come. He's out of town. John, Katie, Bartle, Nikki, come on up. Come on. Earl, come on. I shouldn't have to call you out. Come on. These folks right here, people, have given countless hours, time, energy, thought, and if it had not been for their incredible work, we simply would not have been where we are today. How about a big round of applause for them, please?